So in this small video, I want to show you how to manage last with Boccia. I'm going to show you two different ways. One is with the technical last flattening that we have available in the toolset, and the second one is with a little bit more of a free form kind of workflow. So let's start with the first last flattening, technical last flattening tool that we have. But first I want to kind of clean up and fix some of the problems that may be in our last. So I have a scanned last here, and to kind of make it work properly, what I want to do is I want to use Rhino 8 feature of shrink wrapping. So I already here I have my this would have a hole up top here. So what I did is I basically create a surface and fill that hole like so. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it all and now use the shrink wrap command. Usually these are the settings I like to go for. It's 1mm target edge for the last and least. Let's see what happens. Which is kind of a nice result, and this is a much better cleaned up version of my last, and that's the thing I want to use for my flattening. If I already have a clean last, I probably don't need to do this step. Still, I have seen some NURBS lasts that have some potential issues because the way the surfaces are built. And I still recommend, if you want to have some cleanup, to kind of shrink wrap everything. That will generate a topology which is much more consistent in general, and to mesh that allow you to work with. So I'll take these and let me put this on a new layer. I'm gonna call it shrink wrap. So I'm gonna take my shrink wrap object, move it to the new layer, and hide the old one. The second thing that I want to do is I want to orient the last properly. As you can see now, the front view show me the side. So that's not what I want. What I want is I want to take this and basically align it. I'm gonna move first. I'm gonna move kind of the center point to 0, so that is now aligned like so. Again, your last may come in a already aligned position. That is great, but if it's not, you will have to align it for the tool to properly work. So second thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate. Again, I'm starting from 0, and I'm gonna rotate this along the y-axis, so that the last is oriented basically like so. I want to also move it a little bit forward. One thing that you have to notice is that the last should all be in the positive Z space. So if I draw a line 0 down here, you could see that the last stays above the 0 of the z-axis, so that is something that is needed for the tool. Another thing that I want to do is I want to get a few lines out. You may have them already. In the case you don't have, you can easily extract this line, and the lines are the last bottom and last line and the heel line. So I'm going to use this as a reference for drawing. Maybe like so it's better. And I'm going to draw my curve, following a little bit the bottom here. Again, if your last may come already with these lines, but I'm gonna build them anew. So starting from 0. I'll have this. These 2 lines, so that is the heel center line and the last center line, and I'm gonna need these lines in order to flatten, to do the technical flattening. So in this case I got a right last, you may have a left, it doesn't really matter. It's the tool will ask you which kind of last we have. So the tools can be found here, and it's the flatten last intercontour curve tool, which is B flatten last. So it's asking me for the last mesh, and I can tweak here if it's left or right side. Again, I got a little right, so I'm gonna give it the right. Click here, then it's asking for a couple of information. The bottom curve is this one. I got the last center line, which is this one, and the heel center line, which is this one. If I click on preview, so I got my basically the flattening done. What happens here? So let's go through a little bit what all the tools are doing. First, I want to maybe lower this a little bit. So, and preview again. Yeah. Okay. So the information that we got here is basically we have our lateral side, our medial side that have been flattened, and the bottom has been extracted. So you can see that all the colors matches, so that we have curves that kind of makes sense. Let's go here to top again. So what do we have here is the flattening for both lateral and medial. We have the 2 curves for the medial side, the lateral side, and the mirrored version of this curve. A mirror line automatically should align the mirror axis on the correct position. The bottom may not be perfectly aligned, but you can tweak this here however you want, and if you want it to have it like that, or you want to have it on the other side. So if you want to mirror it, you can click on mirror and it will mirror it. Like that. So, then we have a bunch of other things worth notice. You can control how the front, so the toe notches and the heel notches, where they are placed, you can move them if you have specific, I don't know, I want to have them at 7.5 centimeters from the front, and these are automatically placed, and in the back, I don't know, at 5, then I can have them automatically placed. Automatically we are thickening the mesh. You can see that there's a gap between the mesh they picked, the original mesh, and the one that it's displayed here. And this gap is part of the thickness, which should be the thickness of your material. If you're doing a pullover, for example, should be the thickness of your pullover material. We have a number of other options. Some color curves are generated automatically. The mirror line, how it's controlled. You have options for basically controlling how these two are tweened together. So if this is tweened, and then it will be separated. For example, the toe tween seems a little bit the blend between the tween and the non-tween parts a little bit short, so I can make it a little bit longer, and so it will have a little bit more of a ramp down to that position. And you can control kind of how these two curves behave. And once I am satisfied with my settings, I can simply bake out the result. Last thing that is maybe worth of notice, that this height, usually it's negative height, it's where the mesh is going to be cut off. So for example, the top here I don't care, so I'm going to cut off this top part. So now that I have it, I can just click on bake, and I have my thing that has been saved out to the document. One thing worth of notice again is that in this case I have Jevro installed as well. So if you have both a Jevro and Boccia, the two plugin will integrate, and in this case I have notches, Jevro notches, there are parametric notches that have been added to the document. And so this is a little bit how you get from a, say, scanned last, you can get out of your lines that are needed for flattening it, and then basically getting something flattened. And you can do this with any kind of surface. That usually, again, if I have scan, it's the simplest thing, or if I have already my last library, I have the last, it's gonna be much easier. So what we are going to do now is we're taking this last, which is a climbing last, a very particular last, and I want to flatten this with the tool I have in Boccia. So first, I already shrink wrapped this from a scanning, so that now it's a closed mesh. So you can see by clicking, you look up and the command line, or on the Mac is down here. Just click and get information that is one closed mesh. It doesn't need to be closed necessarily, but usually if you shrink wrap something, in this case I had a scan, you get some better results. So now I want to use my trusty tool here to draw a curved mesh. I'm going to draw on this, and I'm going to start from the feather edge, which here it's kind of complicated because in the front it's clear, in the back you gotta use these reference point that are on the last. So I am going to kind of draw something down here all around, and this will serve as my bottom. And I close it like so, and then I have my bottom curve, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the back. So I'll start from here, kind of try to go straight up, more or less this split between lateral and medial. Same thing goes on the front. So I go from here up, and I go up here. So now for the, I want to also get like a round curve on top. I'm going to use a section for this because it's just faster. And one thing that I usually do is, as I don't really need the top part, I'm going to take this section, not exactly on the top, but a little bit lower down. This usually helps quite a bit. So it takes a while because the mesh is very heavy. Now if I go back here, let's go to my curve layer. So I'm gonna move all the curves to my curve layer. There it is. Hide the shrink wrap, and there we have it. So now we have these curves that are basically defining the seams of where I actually wanna cut my last to flatten it. Again, it doesn't need to be exactly precise. It just need to be somewhere around and closing. One thing that I want to do is I want to take these and rebuild it. So I can either use rebuild or rebuild on a uniform. I'm gonna use a uniform rebuilding for this. Yeah, like so. This one. I'm gonna use rebuild on uniform for these other curve, rebuild curve uniform. I think it's fine. So now my curves have a way lower point density than they had before, because they were directly drawn on the mesh. But now it's kind of okay, I would say. I take my shrink wrap, I select it and use quadri mesh. Quadri mesh can also be found here, down here, on the. So okay, I'm gonna select my curve. I'm going to always use solid curve because it's just faster. I want to have create edge loops. I usually disable detect hard edges for this because I kind of want the edges to fall on the curves that I draw. And target edge length to 1 millimeter. I think I'm working in millimeters. It's more than fine. So let me hide the object to show what's gonna happen here. There it is. So I can see that now I have basically my edge loop running where I wanted them. And exactly like so. So I have the kind of nice topology. These allow us to basically keep the new object very close to where the one that we had at the beginning, but without having the whole this whole geometry. We can compare and use these compare surfaces tool that we have just to try to understand, and you can see that the maximum deviation, which is the red part, and I can't even really see where it is here, of course, a little bit. It's a 0.51 millimeters. It's pretty close to where I was. Here we have some deviation, like it's 0.25, but again, I mean, for this sort of workflows in general, it's irrelevant. So here I have, I'm gonna hide my shrink wrap. Now I have my quad mesh here, and so it gets back to shaded. Next thing I want to do is I want to unweld, so I'm gonna pick this edge here. This is the one that I want. I can either use unweld from here, right click, and so I'm going to unweld edge. I'm gonna do the same with the bottom. You can see that now I have here the curve, so I can easily track, like with Control and Shift I can pick my edge loop by double clicking on the edge that I want to select. I'm gonna again unweld, spacebar for repeat last command. Same thing is gonna happen here. Nope, picked the wrong edge. I want to pop these off, so I'm gonna explode this. So I'm not interested in the top, just gonna remove it. Now we have the bottom as well being removed. So here we are. I'm gonna split here in the back. Always go for unweld. And same, want to split in the front. Again, maybe not the best drawing for the curves that I chose, but I think it's fine. And explode again. And now I have basically my last that has been split into lateral side, the medial side, and the bottom. It's kind of what I want as a pattern engineer, as a flattening. The next step would be I go to the UV editor, and the UV editor will allow me to flatten this thing. So I'm gonna click on the first button, Unwrap. Again, I like to use these settings. In this context, I would say that these are the best settings. So I'm gonna use 20 steps for the algorithm, 500 millimeters as a canvas size, and then the rest doesn't really matter. It should stay like it is. I'm gonna select the 3 meshes, accept. We'll unwrap it, and I will got my flattening. It says, yeah, there's a lot of vertices, but yeah. Here it is, the flattening. Now I can, let's start from the bottom. I'm gonna take the bottom as it is. We can, if we want, use Live Unwrap to try to relax it a little bit more, but you can see with 20 steps already been very much to the relaxing point. So I'm going to add this to the document with here, add to document, for top. Then we have our bottom, and we can see here. I mean, we have 2 separated pieces. Let's flip them right first, and here we have a couple of options. First is the option of just taking these pieces and adding these to the document. Then we could like sort of align those. So if I want to align those kind of more or less in the same way that I will have on a pattern, this is option number 1, and we could use this for drawing internal and external. To have a a flattening which is similar to what we had in the technical flattening, the thing that we can do is we can simply use a couple of commands here, and we can use move to basically align on the vertex. I want to add snap to the vertex, and then use rotate from this vertex to the toe, kind of being aligned like so. Again, I'm not 100% sure that this makes sense in such a last, but still we can do this. And then I'm going to use the borders to get like outlines. So now that I have my outlines, I can basically here run the split, 1 point, and then split these curves. Split here and here. So now I have cool. Couple of curves, same thing goes here. Split down here. Okay, now that I have a couple of these curves, I can use the tween to get 1 curve here, tween, get 1 curve here, tween, get 1 curve here. And the same here. To basically get a couple of curves that are flowing. and then I can use the curve, this one to this one. I can use tangency and move this around. We have one like so, and then a second. The same way. There it is. Now I got my kind of flattening with lateral and medial averaged. This is kind of a way where you can get to a technical flattening, more or less in the same way, but then you can also use these two meshes that I have here for the remapping. I mean, this is of course always an option. And you could sort of again do something that is a little bit more. Oops. So let's try to do it with one. I could take these, then fit it down here with the flow edge, so I can easily flow this edge here, and then take the I got curve no. So subcurve no, and then I take this edge and flow it here, and then I take this edge and flow it here. This one, flow it here, and the last one, and bring it here. So accept. And then it will take a moment and flow my edges to the curves that I want. So, and it's fitting basically the unwrapping in my averaged out, more regular, cleaned up flattening. And once I get my let me hide this. So the new mesh has been properly merged to the right positions, and so this will can be used for then remapping things out and working in 3D. So yeah, this basically covered a little bit. This I used this last as it's a little bit like a weird last to show you something different than something more of a regular last, and to demonstrate the power that you have at your disposal with the tools that are offered by Boccia.